Oh, goodness. Hello, world. Yes. Woo, indeed. What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte, and we're here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Now, my next guest's new show, Crikey, it's the Irwins, makes its worldwide premiere Sunday, October 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on Animal Planet. In it, you get to tag along as they travel the globe protecting and celebrating the most wondrous animals on Earth, all while running Australia's largest family-owned zoo. It is a wonderful show. It gives you a real appreciation for their tireless efforts to carry on the family's legacy and their mission to bring people closer to animals, ensuring an abundance of wildlife for generations to come. They do some incredible work. They are legendary. They are here. They are the Irwins folks. Terri, Bindi, Robert, they're all in the house. How about that right now? You guys excited? I'm excited. I'm excited. Sounds like you are as well. We're going to bring them out in just a second, but first we have a quick look at the show, so let's go ahead and run that clip.
Steve and I often talked about our big dream for Australia Zoo, to make it the best zoological facility on planet Earth. It's really more of a resort for wildlife. You're able to experience them hands-on. You see them, you feel them. You discover a koala smells like eucalyptus, that a binturong smells like popcorn. It's amazing.
We want to make sure that there's an abundance of wildlife and a beautiful world for the generations to come. It's all about encouraging people to fall in love with wildlife and make a difference on the planet.
With everything that we do, we're ultimately trying to continue Dad's legacy. We really are kicking the goals that he originally set.
We went from a few animals to 1,200 animals. We've expanded our conservation properties. We've got a wildlife hospital now that's treated over 76,000 animals. I'm very proud of being part of something that is now even bigger than when Steve was here.
The future is looking so beautiful. We have so much on the horizon.
Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. Terri, Robert, Bindi, Irwin, they're all right here. It's the Irwins.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness. Guys, congratulations on this show. I got a chance to see the pilot and see the first episode, and it is fantastic. You are fantastic. I'm very excited for you. How are you doing? How's everybody doing right now?
Thank you. We're so excited.
Yeah.
Crikey, it's good to be
yeah.
here.
There we are.
Crikey!
Crikey, it's the Irwins, that's us.
Yeah, no, I'm just, yeah, you have to stop and think. It's been 12 years since we've been doing anything with Animal Planet, so it's everyone is rebooting, so why not?
Why not?
It's been so much fun too to now finally be able to share with everyone what we're up to, because every day is so busy at Australia Zoo, and with all of the wildlife conservation work that we're doing, it's just getting bigger and bigger every year. So now everyone gets to come with us on our journey.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing to see. We hear some of the numbers, the amount of animals and things like that. Here's what I really want to know. How long did it take to come up with the title? Was that the first thing?
Not long.
I think so. I think Crikey has been a part of our lives for many years now, thanks to Dad. And you know, it just kind of is our catchphrase. Everyone needs a good catchphrase, and Crikey works for anything. It means like, wow, or golly gosh. So, you know,
Golly gosh.
golly gosh. If it's your birthday, you'd say, Crikey, it's my birthday. If you stub your toe, you'd say, Crikey, that really hurt. Yeah. It works for everything, so you're welcome to use it anytime.
I think your dad had the dubious distinction of being a college drinking game.
Oh dear.
Every time he'd say Crikey,
Crikey.
you'd have a shot.
Well, that's
true.
nice too. You know, it works for
we don't
many
really
things.
do that, but
It really does.
Attitude. Oh, okay, that's nice too. Gosh golly, all right.
Crikey.
Yeah, okay, they drank. That's good. That's really good.
Good. we need to get you khaki now, though. I honestly think, because we always say khaki is not just a color, it's an attitude. And I feel like you're part of our Wildlife Warriors team now.
Well, one, that is an honor. I would wear the khaki with pride, yeah, no doubt. But two, my complexion, I blend into it. I become this amorphous beige blob. I need contrast.
That's okay.
But we'll have to, maybe if I come down and get some sun, that might work.
We'll work
I don't
on
know.
it together.
We'll work on that together.
Yep.
Here's another question I was wondering about. Terri, I want you to, were you ever nervous for even a half a second when they were young that, man, what if they're not into animals? Because you guys, as a family, I've seen the passion individually before, but there's something beautiful about the passion all of you share, and it is such a genuine, real passion. Even in the green room, we had a passing question about tarantulas, and all of you jumped on it as if there was a six-camera crew.
Tarantulas.
No, but like the amount of information, the enthusiasm, just for an audience of two, you guys were still there. It is so in your blood. Was there a part of you like, what are we going to do if they don't like animals? Like, did that ever cross your mind?
It is dangerous to ask us an animal question, first of all. But in any event, I remember when Steve first suggested we had children. So we've been filming for about 6 years. And Steve used to fire stare, only literally. He'd go in the backyard, build a fire, and stare at it. And then he'd come in the evening, and one night... Nowadays, men fire stare by watching football or, but he would actually build a fire. So he'd come in, and one night he came running in. I think he said something like, "Crikey, we..."
See, there's that Crikey
Not
again.
100% on that opening line, but it's a safe bet.
We have to have children. He goes, "Who are we going to leave this all to?" But I'm the one who said, if you have kids, there's no guarantee they're going to do what you do. Right. Or even like it. And he's like, no, we're gonna have children. They're gonna love conservation of wildlife and carry on where we left off. And at that point in my life, I was, 33? I was cool with it. I was cool with the thought of having a child. And
we're glad that you were into that idea. Thanks for that.
So I went, well, I'm good with it.
Board.
But
we are so on board.
There is not a word in the English language to describe Steve, because he was the opposite of a procrastinator, which is just as annoying. But he was like, we're going to have children. And I'm going, there's this whole gestation thing. We can't just go, boom, so... But we had Bindi pretty much right away after that, and I'll be darned if he wasn't right. That's the other annoying thing about Steve. He was pretty much always right. Anyway, yeah, and the best part of our lives together was definitely Bindi and Robert.
I think, for Bindi and myself, I don't think I couldn't imagine doing anything else other than what we do. I wouldn't trade it for the world, honestly. Like living at the zoo, growing up there, and having the parents that we've had, it'd be hard not to be passionate about wildlife.
You would think so, right?
Exactly.
Well, here's the flip side of that question is, if you can, think back, I don't know what's your first, but what's your earliest memory of wildlife? You grew up on the zoo.
Yeah.
I think in this episode, Robert, we see like when you were 10, you got to feed a croc or something like that.
Yeah,
so like
exactly.
what's your...
Good parenting.
Yeah, what's your...
That's safe. That's safety right there.
As you go back in your mind, if you can recall, like, do you know when it sort of clicked and you're like, I do love this. This is good for me.
I think one of my earliest memories, see, we were always around wildlife growing up. It was wonderful. But I can remember one of my earliest memories. We were traveling. This is before Robert was born. And I love you, and I wish you were there too. But before you were born, there's about 5.5 years difference between me and Robert. But we were out traveling near Western Australia on this really big boat, filming for Crocodile Hunter. And we were all there together as a family. And what was so extraordinary is one evening, as the sun was setting, this pod of dolphins came swimming towards our boat. So Dad, being Dad, he said, well, let's jump in with them. And I was so little that I put my little floaties on, because it's the open ocean. We're in the middle of the ocean. So who knows what's in the ocean? It was really exciting. So we jump in, and I held on to Dad's shoulders, and we swam out to these dolphins. And as the sun set, the dolphins were jumping over my head. And it's the most vivid memory just to see these dolphins. They were bringing their babies up, and I just all I could
Bindi.
think was, how incredible. Yeah.
Do you realize, and I've said this to other people before, but I think I mean it more now this time, you live in a Disney movie.
I
Do you
do.
realize that?
I feel like I
The
do.
sun's setting and baby dolphins are coming around and they're...
It's true.
All right.
Yeah, and it's so special.
Amazing.
And how incredible that as a family, we're able to share all of these experiences with so many people through our documentary filming. So that's why we're so excited about our brand new show, because we're bringing people on the adventure with us to be able to say, you know, you can have these amazing experiences and you can change the world and believe in your strength to make a difference on the planet. It's so special.
It's hard not to be moved by that experience, and that's what's great about your show is bringing that unique experience into everybody's living rooms. Robert, top that.
Sorry, buddy.
Good luck.
Yeah, yes. That is a very hard one to top, that's for sure. Well, I think you're right, that really was very Disney movie-ish. That's
very
incredible.
special.
And then the whale breached over. And then the unicorn popped up.
Elton John was there. He was singing.
A floating piano. Well, see, for me, I think my first memory of actually being involved with wildlife was on one of the earliest crocodile research trips. Yeah. So every year, my dad started these trips. We'd go up north to far north Queensland, really remote, like these mangrove mud swamps in the middle of nowhere, to actually trap and capture crocodiles, wild crocodiles. And he joined up with the University of Queensland to do this groundbreaking research on these animals. And so my most vivid memory was on my first crocodile research trip. I was only like 2 years old. And the way you do it, you can't actually tranquilize crocs. You can't like blow dart them and then they fall asleep because it's really bad for them. So you actually have to pull them out of the trap and then jump on top of them to hold them down. You do all the science and then you release them again. It's all quick and amazing. And all of this, Dad really perfected this technique. So I remember it was the first time I'd ever seen a crocodile up close. And we're all with this beautiful female. She was about, I'd say, 8 or 9 feet long. And Dad, being Dad, he got us involved. So it was never, we were never separate to it. We were right in there helping. So I remember he let us come in and actually experience this crocodile before it was released. We got to come in and feel its feet and feel its breath blowing up into our face and just see how prehistoric these animals really are. They're like dinosaurs. Really so that first moment for me is what instilled a passion for wildlife and for crocs especially. Yeah. So it was a really special moment.
There's a lot I want to unpack there, but Terri, I want to ask you a question. Just as, Steve was always right. Was there ever a debate about the right age to bring them around the crocs? Like, obviously, Steve knew and had a great awareness of how to behave around these creatures. But to hear these stories, why would you ever be afraid of anything? There's dolphins. Let's go swim with them. Here's a croc. Let's go hang out with them. Was there ever a talk of, like, is there a reason to be scared? No, I'm not scared. I know what I'm doing. Like, was that a conversation you guys had?
Yes, sorry, I'm just thinking of my earliest memory of Steve when he was rocking those shorts. Sorry, I was just reflecting. Okay, and back. Safety, yes. Safety is important.
You're amazing.
The really special thing about having kids is we said what everyone says. Our lives won't change after we have children. That's a lie. Your life will change. Your life changes if you get a puppy. This is a person. So first of all, I learned that love at first sight is possible. I met Steve. When Bindi was born, same thing happened. Robert was born, same thing happened. We just loved them. But we did make that determination, and all credit to the film crew and the people that we worked with that we got to take our kids along. And Bindi was 6 days old when she went on her first documentary shoot. She was 10 days old coming with us internationally. We barely got a passport. And same with Robert. I think you were about a month old when we hit the road. That's the difference, is kind of incorporating Bindi and Robert into our lives. Yeah. And if you grow up and your mother or father are an electrician, you probably don't go to work with them every day and see what they're doing and learn as you grow up. They had this distinct advantage of being with wildlife in the wild and at the zoo. And keep in mind, we do live in the middle of Australia Zoo. If you climb over the fence, you're in with some of the biggest crocodiles you've ever seen. So from an early age, it's like, you know, this snake is venomous. We learned hot was an easier word. Don't touch that, it's hot. Don't climb that fence.
You'll be eaten by a crocodile.
Crocodile,
Which indeed is hot.
So,
It's
yeah.
very hot over there.
very, very warm.
So we probably won't talk
Thirsty.
about the other 2 kids I had. But anyway, no, I'm kidding.
They climbed the fence.
They climbed the fence. Don't do that.
That was a terrible joke. But actually,
It was actually really funny. It made me laugh.
Bindi and Robert are very safe with wildlife because that's all they've known. They've grown up with it, and it's knowing what you know. And Steve used to say that. He'd say, "I couldn't be an electrician. One flash, I'd be ash." And they have had this great advantage. Do we ever know everything? No. Do you still have to be careful? Sure. But what we're missing is we're going further and further away from wildlife and nature. Yeah. We have met children who have never climbed a tree. What? People who have never gone camping, people who are afraid of butterflies when they fly by. And you just go, really? So if we can bring you closer to nature and make you want to experience it more, that would be awesome.
I think you guys do a great job of that. See, just in this first episode that I got to see, and we talked about Robert, your passion for Crocs, and it's funny, like it doesn't. It's not fear. There's more of like a respect. Like you guys respect the reality of what's in front of you. And like I'm watching you prep for your Croc thing, and I'm like, that's intense. And then I was like, oh, Bindi's okay. She's hanging out with the koalas. That's more my speed. And then with this lovely delivery and smile, you explain that a koala bite looks much like a hot knife through butter. And I was like, nothing is safe. How do they do
koalas.
The
How do
cute
they do it?
cuddlies. They do have a serious bite, but I will give koalas this. So koalas in the wild, they look like a teddy bear. So you have to be a little scary if you're a teddy bear. You've got to be able to
You need
bite.
defense.
Totally. But when we have our wildlife hospital, and we've rescued and rehabilitated over 77,000 animals. Sick, injured, orphaned animals. It has been so special. It was opened up in honor of Lynn Irwin, who is our grandmother, Dad's mum. She passed away just before I turned 2. And she loved all animals so much and really tried to help to protect them for the generations to come. So we opened up the wildlife hospital in her memory. And today, we get about 800 koalas a year into the wildlife hospital. And that's because of disease, dog and cat attack, too many cars on the road where the koalas are trying to cross. But we take them from the wild and we rehabilitate them and then release them back out into the wild. So they have this really wonderful second chance at life where they wouldn't have made it if we weren't there helping them to recover. But what's amazing is that these koalas come into the wildlife hospital, and after the first couple of days, it's almost as if they understand we're trying to help them. So at first they're trying to scratch at you and bite you, and then a few days later they're going, "Thank you for feeding us, and we'll give you cuddles," and it's the most amazing experience. And then when we release them, it's this bittersweet moment where you go, I hope you do good, but I'm so glad that we got you back out into the wild. And that's what it's all about. This is what we live for, is taking care of our animals so that my children and my grandchildren can grow up in a world with clean air, fresh drinking water, and an abundance of wildlife forever. And we're all in this together. As a society, we have to work together to make a difference because it's up to us. The footprints that we leave on the earth today are going to affect the generations to come. But I think to be able to make a difference on the planet, we first have to find that love and light and balance within ourselves and with our fellow humans. And then we can start to make a change on the planet.
Let's go ahead and hold for applause. Right? Like,
Thank you.
that, for me, verbally, that was my dolphins in the sunset moment. That was beautiful. That's so well spoken.
I always say everything that Bindi says is like an inspirational quote.
Right?
Like every sentence is like Gandhi has said it. It's amazing.
I love you.
There was a question I really wanted to ask because I wrote down his name. I think it was Hunter, the blind tiger that we get to meet. And, you know, the way everyone sort of, Hunter is so sweet in the show, and everyone's petting Hunter, and he's a big he's a tiger, he's huge. And you mentioned how the koalas, they come around. Is that something universal that you find? Are there animals that you were surprised by that after working with them a little bit kind of warmed up to you, other than the koalas? Is that an experience you've shared?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, definitely. There's a lot of animals that are like that. Hunter is a prime example because unfortunately for a lot of animals, when they lose their sight or, you know, lose a really important sense like that, I mean, it's either fight or flight. Usually they become really shy. Sometimes they might lash out. They don't know what's going on.
Scared.
But if you have this kind of bond with your animals, if you can really form this trust, they don't do that. They really understand that you're trying to help them. You mean them no harm, and you kind of are on that one-on-one level. So it's like that with really any animal that you encounter. If you have that love and respect for them and treat them with kindness, then they'll certainly reciprocate that. So I think it's kind of a lesson in life, is to treat all humans and animals the way that you would wish to be treated. I think the only animal that doesn't really come around are crocodiles. They usually always just try to eat you, but you can still love them and respect them. But other than that, yeah, most of the time they'll really understand that you're trying to help them.
But Hunter is so special because he's blind. So
Yeah.
he was born and had terrible eyesight problems. And if he was in the wild, he wouldn't have survived. But at Australia Zoo, what's extraordinary is because he's blind, he relies on us for that reassurance. So now we teach him, you know, this is where to walk and we'll give you food. And it's this wonderful bond. We had a little girl who came into Australia Zoo and she was so sweet, but she had eye problems as well. And she was going to lose her sight within 5 years. And she was the most brave little soul. She was extraordinary. But we introduced her to Hunter, and she said, I'm so glad I got to meet Hunter before I went blind, because now I have this kind of inspirational partner in eye health, you know? We're going through it together. And she said she really connected with Hunter because she went, if Hunter can get through this and he's a tiger, then I can too. And it's so special. The stories that we've had with our animals changing people's lives is amazing, and that's what we want. We want you to come to Australia Zoo and just experience our animals and fall in love with the koalas or the tigers, and to be able to take home this greater knowledge of our world and our creatures that we live alongside. So how special is that? Wasn't that amazing though, when she came in to meet Hunter?
It was a beautiful story, and Hunter's story is amazing, and that's the difference when you're hands-on with your wildlife, that they benefit the most. It's really special.
It's pretty incredible. We've got a bunch of questions. We're gonna go to the audience in a second, but I do wanna, the show opens with a beautiful video of Steve saying, like, for him, you know, and for you guys, the goal, like, he'll know he's done when the family carries on the torch. And Terri, you told us about that revelation, that moment that hit him. You're very young, you're very early in the career, but have you given any thought to, like, what your North Star is, I'll know I'm done when I've achieved this, when I get to this point? Have you thought about that at all? Or are you just enjoying the adventure right now?
That's a really good question. Absolutely. And I think for us being still quite young, I think the older we get, the more we really want to take on, the more we really want to conquer and achieve. So we really want to take on bigger issues. And I know for Bindi, she's been passionate about so many different issues as she's gotten older. And she's been a big inspiration for myself as well, because what we really want to do, and one of my biggest passions is inspiring other young people, because that's the most important thing. If we can inspire the next generation to be passionate about what they love, to follow their dreams and their passion, no matter what it is, then that's really how we're going to change the world. So I think that's always been a big mission of mine. And I think really for us, it's all about doing exactly what Dad said in that video. And I think we are to the point in our lives now where we're ready to continue his mission. We're ready to run up his cause and make sure that message, that voice that he had, I mean, he reached so many millions, to make sure that never fades away, that people are always thinking about him, the effect that he had, and making his work bigger and better, you know, really to spread that message.
Dad always said, I don't care if people remember me, I care if people remember my message. And I feel exactly the same way, where I really truly believe that we've been put here for a reason and a purpose to affect positive change on the planet and inspire other people to get involved. And it's interesting because you don't have to be a full-on conservationist to make a difference. It's just like you don't have to be a chef to appreciate fine food. You don't have to be an extraordinary singer to love music. And you don't have to be a full-on conservationist to make a difference on the planet. So if I'm able to just encourage a few people along the way to make a difference on the planet and clean up their local park, or turn off the tap while you brush your teeth, then I've done my job. And I think that as I get older, I really hope to see some wonderful change on the planet where we start considering our footprints on the earth today. And when I have kids, I hope they grow up in a world with a beautiful environment and a peaceful place where we all just get along and love each other and love our earth. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on love and light for the whole world. Let's do that together. Yeah.
It's amazing. Terri, did you want to? I saw the mic go up and back.
Oh, I just was contemplating world domination, but that probably doesn't really fit in with those goals. But yeah, realistically, though, the biggest challenge we have on planet Earth right now is our human population. There's no one single problem that does not stem from human overpopulation. And we had a friend who passed away in 2009. Ruth was 104 years old. When Ruth was born, there was no such thing as sliced bread. There were no zippers, and there was no such thing as plastic. It didn't exist. She lived in a sod hut. She never saw a car till she was 10. Her father sold horses the way we sell cars now. But what was most interesting is when Ruth was born, there were 1.5 billion people on the planet, and when she died, it was pushing 7 billion. That's one woman's lifetime. So why we aren't more terrified about that, I don't know. Because we want to see people do better with their lives. And when you talk about wildlife conservation, it's really ultimately about conserving ourselves and having a good lifestyle. And it's great if you want to have a big family, but not everyone has a choice. And you'll certainly do better if you're living on $2 a day with 5 kids than 10. So these are issues we can't keep dodging forever. We're going to have to start talking about it and being involved politically, being involved with your community. All of these things to make a difference is so important.
I think that's why Dad came up with the term wildlife warrior, though. He really was the one who said, we are wildlife warriors. We're standing up and speaking for those who cannot speak for themselves. And we'll always stand back to back as a little family in khaki and fight for what we believe in. And I think we can all do that. We can all stand up and make a difference. The biggest question I get asked every day, especially by young people, is how can I make a change because I'm just one person? But we all can. We all have a voice, and we can stand up for what we know is right. So stand up, honestly, yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to the audience, but I want to thank you all for being here and hanging out with us. Number one, I want to thank you for being just so wonderful and having such a great energy about you. And congratulate you again on this show, which I will, of course, remind everyone is having its worldwide premiere event on Sunday, October 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern Pacific on Animal Planet. You're crazy not to watch it. I'm going to be honest with you, all right? You're crazy. So go ahead and watch it. Let's get some questions from the audience real quick. We got a couple of microphones out there. I think we're going to start right here in the front.
Hello. I just
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
It's
How
so
you
good
going?
to see you.
It's so good to see all of you as well. I wanted to know for the viewers at home, if they would like to get involved, what do you advise their first steps would be, whether it be like in their community or just like simply paying it forward?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I would say that no matter who you are, everyone has 2 things. Everyone has time and everyone has money. So you really need to find what is your passion and how can you step up to help. And as Bindi said, you don't have to be all things to all people. I mean, I've dedicated my life to wildlife conservation and protecting the environment. I'm not going to save everything. I will do the best that I can for while I'm here. So like you said, very clever getting involved in something that makes you passionate. And what made me passionate was developing a nonprofit organization where 100% of the donations go to helping the animals. So we run Australia Zoo, and people buy a ticket and come to the zoo. That money covers the administration and the overhead for Wildlife Warriors. So if you're interested in being a wildlife warrior, just go to wildlifewarriors.org and you can see how you can get involved. You can come to Australia, volunteer at our hospital. We have international programs. We have projects like right now, it's the readathon for young people. Kids 17 and under can read a book and get sponsored, and that money goes back to helping wildlife. And 100% of it does, because I want to do things the best, and so do you. So if your passion is planting trees or saving birds or whatever it is, you can make a difference. You can, take your pet parakeet and visit old people in a retirement home, and that would be cool. Just whatever it is, just go for it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
God bless.
Did you get that? Was a pretty perfect response. Did
Perfect.
you
We
guys
just
wanna-
love you,
Yeah,
and
did you
thank
wanna-
you for asking.
Mum, that's
See,
awesome.
but just by asking the question, you're already halfway there. Just by having that drive to make a difference and being curious about how to change the world and do your part is so special. So thank you. You're amazing.
Thanks. We got time for a few more. Next one looks like it's going to be right here. Go for it.
Hello.
Hello.
What's your favorite animals at the zoo?
Oh, that's such a good
Favorite
question.
animals at the zoo. Good question.
We love you. That's so hard. Do you have 12 hours? Because our favorite animals is going to take a while.
We've got 1,200 animals at the zoo, so
We
we've got
do.
a lot. It's very hard to choose a favorite.
Okay. You go first.
Okay.
You go first.
I would have to say my favourite animal in general are crocodiles. My favourite crocodile at Australia Zoo is named Graham. He is awesome. Graham the crocodile has a very long history at the zoo. He's been with us for many, many years, and he's the only crocodile that's ever bitten anyone. So he bit Dad and also Dad's best mate Wes, who's the director of the zoo. So he's got a very interesting history at the zoo. He's very grumpy, but he's my favourite croc. He's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask you firstly, what's your favorite animal? What animal do you love the most?
I love dogs.
That's awesome. I was so glad.
great.
Do you have a dog at home?
Yeah, we have 2 German Shepherds and a Corgi.
That's fantastic. Well, at Australia Zoo, we have dingoes. Have you heard of the dingoes?
Yeah.
And they're so beautiful, and we love
We also
them.
have a pug. As
We
well.
do,
have
and
a pug
Stella
named
the pug.
Stella. We do.
She's She's very cute.
And 2 German Shepherds.
We have
Yes,
two German
because we
Shepherds
wanted
as well.
to be just like you. So
We do.
we do.
Mum, what's your favorite animal?
I know what yours is.
Do you know what mine is? Yeah. Shall
Yes.
I?
Tell,
Okay,
tell.
I'll tell. My favorite animal, I absolutely love echidnas. Have you heard of an echidna before?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so proud of you because some people don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, echidnas, so they're monotremes, which means that they're egg-laying mammals, and there's only 2 monotremes in the world, the echidnas and the platypus, which is really special. So I love them because they're so unusual. So they're covered in spikes, they have backwards facing feet, they have a giant tongue and eat ants and termites, and they just waddle around everywhere. They have tiny eyes, huge holes in their head, which are their ears. They're so fun.
Very
I'm painting a
unusual.
great picture here. But I love them because they're like my little spirit animals. I love hugging them, and they actually do love cuddles. And in the hot times of the year, during the summer months, they'll go for little swims in their pond, and they use their nose as a snorkel. So they'll just kind of like paddle around and use their nose as a snorkel. Hilarious and adorable, and I love that you know what they are. Well done.
Good job. I'd probably lean towards koalas just because they're so cuddly. They are like a ridiculously cute, fluffy teddy bear, and you can hug them. So when you come to Australia Zoo, we can give you a koala to hug.
Yes.
Wow, that is
Fun. Thank you, love.
that's a heck of an.
Thanks,
That's
good
that's
question.
how you get people in the zoo right there. Just come on down. We'll give you a
hug a
koala to
koala.
hug.
It's awesome. It's
I'm
awesome.
going to ask you the flip side of that question before we go to our last one. With was it 1,200 animals
Yeah,
you got there?
1,200 animals, yep.
Is there one that you do not yet have at the zoo that you'd love to have, or that you get freaked out if someone was like, "I have an opportunity to bring this animal to your
There are
zoo"?
so many animals that I'd like to have.
That's a tough one.
I know what you'd like, Mum.
What?
You love eyes.
I do. I love eyes. I can't help it. I'm only human. There are lemurs in Madagascar, and there's more than 32 species of lemurs. So the eye is one that is nocturnal. It has a really long, weird middle finger, and it taps on the trees. And when it hears an insect, it digs in and eats it. It's the only lemur that's teeth never stop growing. And it's kind of weird looking. It's dark with big eyes. And some of the people in Madagascar think it's bad juju, so some people kill them. But they're these really funky looking, cool lemurs. And yeah, I love them. And you sound like a pirate. Aye, aye.
I also think we should get, like, it'd be cool to get more primates as well, like orangutans, or I love snow leopards. Yeah. That'd be cool. Polar bears, lions. I've got a big list. I've got so many.
I think Robert's the list for all of us, so we'll just let Robert go with that.
Thank you. We got one more. We're going to do one more, and it's right here.
Hi, everyone. Literally, thank you for being here. It's so exciting, and your energy is infectious.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say, like, from the last question, I'm from the Philippines.
Yay.
So if you could get a tarsier, that would be amazing.
That would be
Yes.
awesome. We love the Philippines.
That's a good
We've been
idea.
so many times.
Yeah,
It's
that's a good
awesome.
one. And we want a Philippine crocodile and a graze monitor.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Oh my God,
Yes.
you need
Great.
one.
So if you know anybody that can help facilitate that,
Yeah, please.
that would
Please do.
Okay, good,
And,
good.
and
There
we're
we
so
are.
sorry Lolong didn't survive, but he was awesome.
Yeah,
So
it was really cool.
Well, so the main question, moving on from that, is a lot of you guys are raised. You guys were raised sort of in an environment where you were taught to respect and love animals. But a lot of us, like me, I'm one of those people who's never climbed a tree. And a lot of us, all we do is kind of take in what media gives us. And a lot of the way the media portrays it is that animals are like bad and all they'll do is eat you. So how do you guys, like throughout your careers, how do you combat these sort of animal stereotypes, and how do you make people more aware of them?
Absolutely.
Good.
And
That's
that
a
is a
very
wonderful
good
question.
question. That's
Very good.
really good. And I'm so glad you asked. Thank you. Because it is true that a lot of times animals can be misunderstood. And I think that honestly, where our fear comes from is not knowing enough about these animals. So education truly is the key to anything you're afraid of or worried about. It's education.
Good rule of thumb.
Yeah, truly. So we encourage everybody, come to Australia Zoo first of all, because if you have any fears, say it's a snake or a crocodile, we will help you. We actually have snake therapy at Australia Zoo, which is pretty special. But we encourage everyone just to learn about animals and to understand that you don't have to kiss an alligator on the lips. It's okay. You don't have to do that. You can just love them and respect them from a distance and appreciate that they are apex predators and have a huge role to play in the environment. But truly, I believe that education is the key. So if you go and experience these animals in the wild, that's a great way to get to know them, to study more about them. It takes that fear away. And I think that for us as a family, that's what we try to do. That's why we have this brand new show with Animal Planet, is to be able to explain to people, look, here's these individual animals and their personalities and how special they are and how much we love them. You don't have to cuddle them, but you can just appreciate them and know what to expect. You can understand how crocodiles move and why giraffes have such a long neck. And that really helps. At least that's my opinion. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think the show as well is kind of, it's a little bit of positivity as well, because you're right, often there's so much these days portrayed in media and everything that's so negative. So with the show, it's all about positivity and just getting people to love these wildlife. So if you have any fears of animals or anything, watch the show, and that'll, I think, probably help you conquer those fears, because it's all about that one-on-one experience.
And it's true that years and years and years ago, before we had fences and houses and everything else, if you told great stories, your kids didn't wander off. Don't wander off in the dark, kids, because there's a fill in the blank that's going to get you.
Yeah.
So that's how you keep people close at home. And we love those stories. If there's a shark in the water, we want to do the story about that really big shark, because it's kind of exciting. But the reality is the apex predators are the most important animals on the planet. So all of the cute little fluffy ones are great, but your crocodiles and tigers and bears are the ones that are like the roof of the house. They're the most important, and everything depends on them. So it's a great question, and we need to start separating fact from old husband's tales. And then you and I have a date in Central Park to climb a tree.
Totally.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm there.
We are doing it.
Totally.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you for that. Thank you all of you for your fantastic
Thanks, everyone.
questions, and thank the three of you again for being here. I got to wrap this thing up. I got a mountain of questions I never even got to. So you got to come back. All right, that's number one.
Oh, definitely.
Number
We'll build
two.
a fire and fire stare.
Yes, and we'll
talk
fire stare
about
together.
this. Yeah.
Robert, last thing. I got Kevin Hart coming later this week. If I only get one swing at this, what, in your expert opinion, how do I scare the hell out of him the most with one animal? Scariest animal, what for Kevin Hart? What should we do?
I
Give me
think any animal.
any animal.
Just mention.
Do we? Can we get any animal? Can we get that? Okay, so we're gonna get any animal
Pretty much
when he gets
anything.
here.
Get a pigeon or anything. That it would scare it.
pigeon.
A guinea pig.
Unbelievable. That's perfect.
He's
Thank you
awesome.
again.
We had a lot of fun.
Congratulations again. Everybody, I'll remind you once more. It's the 28th of October, 8-9 Central Animal Planet. Crikey, it's the Irwins. Make some noise. Come on. Come on.
Crikey.